I've been gone 2 years now, and I just cannot fathom how even 2 years ago, I was doing everything I do. I've got 4,000 geckos, running a whole business, and I was still getting up at 1:30 in the morning, working 6 hours in a UPS warehouse, and then doing a full day of work after that. Weird interaction with a girl yesterday at the show here. She'd come up to my booth. I had seen her come up like 3 or 4 times and was looking at geckos, and she, like, kept her eyes down, and she had headphones in.
Howdy, folks. Brian here at Redline Report, and today we're going to sit down with Brian of Altitude Exotics and hear his story of how he got to where he's at, his story of pulling away from the hobby, pulling away from shows, not the hobby necessarily, but pulling away from the people in the hobby, and the importance of coming back and doing shows again and being part of the community. So you're watching Redline Report. How long have you been coming to shows, and how long have you been working with reptiles?
God, I started breeding in 2009,
Okay.
and then I started doing shows pretty quick because, like, when I first got into it, it's like super exciting. You got to go do shows, and then I quit doing shows because I got super depressed, and then I turned really introverted, and I didn't do shows for like 6, 7 years. From when did I do my first show again? It was 2021. Yeah, from like 2015 to 2021, I just never left the house.
Gotcha.
Didn't do any shows, didn't do anything.
Okay, that's why I guess I hadn't seen you at a show because I started going in
Yeah.
2015.
Yeah, that's about when I quit going. It was just, I was joking yesterday with a bunch of people about, I'm like, now I'm doing too many shows. The mystique is gone. Like, when I first did a show, people were losing their minds because, like, nobody had ever seen me. I'd never left my house. And now it's like, people aren't excited to see me anymore. I'm doing too many shows. There's no mystique about the mysterious Brian that nobody's ever met in person.
So, but you were still at that time, even though you weren't going to shows, you were still breeding and producing and selling
Yeah.
online and stuff. And
Yeah, I was still doing a lot of business, just online only. But I wasn't there. I went through a point where I didn't do any videos online. It was all photos, all posts. Like, nobody knew who I was. Nobody had ever seen my face. Nobody had ever met me. It was just the company logo and a bunch of geckos.
so, has it always been geckos?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. I did snakes a long time ago, a little bit, and I pretty quickly learned I like geckos better, and I'm just better at that. And it pretty quickly streamlined into just doing geckos.
So, what was it like? Why did you stop attending shows? You went introverted. Was there something like anything in
No,
particular?
I was just, 23 years old and went through a really bad breakup and got depressed and then just sat in my basement and never came back out.
Wow.
It took a long time for me to be like, this sucks. I don't have any friends. I'm tired of sitting here alone. I need to go out and do stuff. So
Yeah,
I started
absolutely.
started posting online. I also didn't like that nobody knew who I was. I thought it was for just business purposes. I very specifically made a plan that, like, people like my geckos, but nobody knows who I am. So if I start posting videos and people like me, they'll like my geckos too. Like, why am I not putting a face behind all of this? So then I started doing a lot more videos and making it a more personal thing instead of you're buying one from Altitude Exotics. It's Brian comes online, and my famous intro everybody mocks me with now when I do shows. Hey, what's up, everybody? Here's a gecko, instead of just, oh, I posted 20 geckos on the website. Try to make it a lot more personal. It's a lot more
Yeah,
fun that way
it
too.
is. I think it is certainly.
It
Yeah,
is.
I definitely do enjoy it a lot more. I could understand somebody. I think a lot of folks. I shouldn't assume that, but I think there are plenty of people that are in the reptile keeping hobby who are not necessarily the most socially minded, or like they
Yeah.
don't necessarily want to spend time. They'd rather spend time. I even see it posted on Facebook all the time. Actually, I like my animals way more than I like people. I don't want to spend time
Yep.
with people. I just want to spend time with my animals. And
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about coming to shows is you see a lot of people. Like you said, I don't want to stereotype everybody, but you see a lot of people that you're like, it's very clear you don't get out much and you don't like being out much, but this is where you'll come interact with other people.
yeah, definitely. I think
Yeah.
that's what reptiles could be doing in a bigger way than just reptiles, right? Is getting those people that are in those spaces where they feel like they can't talk to other people, they can't relate to other people, but then we find this common thread in
Yeah.
reptiles
Yeah,
and
it's
liking
nice to have that
reptiles.
that safe space that it's like you can go hang out with people who are similar without trying. Like, it's hard to make friends when you're an adult. Like, especially if you're not the most socially outgoing person. Like, once you leave high school, how do you make friends? I don't know. I haven't figured it out outside of reptiles.
Wow, I didn't really think about that. I guess I figured out a little bit since then, but That's very true. Like coming to these shows, the first time I went to a show was in 2015, and I
Yeah.
remember walked in and just took about 10 minutes walking around. Then I had to walk back out because I was like, "What is happening here? There's
I did
so many."
the first time I went to Tinley a couple years ago. I just didn't vend, just went to go hang out, and I had no idea what I was getting into. It was really early on. The first show I did was Vegas in September, and then I went to Tinley just to go. So it was like right at that point. My company was very well known. I was very well known from videos and YouTube, but I'd never left the house. I'd never seen anybody in person, and I just thought I messed that whole thing up. It was a great disaster, but such a disaster. I was like I had just gone through a divorce. I was going through a divorce, and I just thought, I'm going to show up. I brought the girl I was dating at the time, and I thought, nobody's really going to notice. Nobody's going to care. I'm just going to go to Tinley. And it was not like that at all. It was completely overwhelming. There was, you know how Tinley is. There's 8,000 people crammed into a tiny room, and everyone was very aware. I was there with a woman who was not my wife, and I don't post my life on social media, so nobody knew I wasn't married anymore. And then that started a whole bunch of talk that turned into a big giant thing. And it was just like, there was a point where I left and went and just sat outside on the ground on the side of the building. It was like, I can't do this. There's too many people. It was totally overwhelming.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, well, just not just the people, that the whole situation
Yeah,
there.
like I said, it was a snowball where everything came together, and I was just like, I have to go outside and get fresh air. This is too much.
Wow.
It's that social anxiety can be crippling sometimes.
Yeah, no doubt. That's crazy, man.
But at the same time, I went through 10 years where I didn't leave the house and just sat alone in my basement. Like, even going through that, it's still better than just sitting there alone.
Mm. What? So Vegas, like Reptile Super Show?
Yeah, they
Vegas. That
did.
was your first show back?
That was the first show I had vended since a local Repticon here in Denver in like 2014, I think was the last time I vended a show before that.
Okay. So you had such a booth. I remember seeing your booth there. I
Yeah.
remember walking around like, and I had heard the name, of course, and I was like, I didn't realize that was like your first show back in
That was the
a
first
decade
one
or
I'd done in
whatever.
years. Yeah,
Um,
I try and set like goals, things I want to do business wise, and one of them is I try and come up with a new idea. I have like a rule for myself that once a year I have to come up with some sort of idea that I don't think anybody else could do. Like, what can I do that I don't think anybody else could pull off? And that year, my idea was I need to vend a show. I think by now my name's big enough it would make a splash. I haven't done one. Nobody's ever met me. I should do a show, and that'll be my thing this year is to be like, everybody will talk. Oh my God, he actually did a show. And I wanted to do Tinley, but Tinley's so hard to get into. And it was like, you might be able to get one booth. I'm like, no, I need like, I'm not going to show up with a one case full of geckos. Like, this needs to be full out. At that point, my plan was to do one show and then just disappear again. It's like, I'm going to do one show. So I picked Vegas because I figured it's easy for people to travel to. That's why I picked Vegas. It's an easy spot to get to. And I just started telling everybody I'm doing one show. I got a full end cap. I'm bringing 300 geckos. It's probably the only show I'll ever do. And it ended up being ridiculous. And now I do 4 or 5 shows a year. So that only show ever thing turned out to be a lie. But
yeah, I remember walking by because you had that end cap, and I was like, okay, this is maybe I've just like missed this in the past or something. But I was like, this guy is clearly like established, but I don't recall seeing it before. But that doesn't mean anything for me. It's like I don't go to all
yeah.
the shows. So I'm like, maybe I don't know. I don't know what I thought. I just remember seeing your booth. I'm
Yeah,
like,
no, that was brand everything, like all the tablecloths, the banner. I had to I spent months and months planning out what do I want this booth to look like? How can I make it? Like I wanted it to be big and showy, and that was the whole point was if I'm gonna vend a show again finally, I'm not just gonna show up with a little banner and one case of geckos. Like I want to make it a spectacle, a whole event. Like I had planned a whole dinner because I had people had people flying in from all over the country and all over the world. Had people drive from Iowa down to Vegas just to come see me because I was finally doing a show. So I organized a whole dinner Saturday night after the show. We had like 40 people that all got together. We got thrown out of 3 restaurants because nobody wanted to seat us. We got thrown out of 1 restaurant because we weren't all over 21 and it was inside a casino. It was a whole mess. It ended up being a very fun disaster.
nice. At least it was fun.
It was a good time.
It's awesome, dude. All right, it's all starting to click now because I remember, yeah, hearing about like, yeah, okay, everything's starting to come together in my own little personal brain space. So full time, you've been doing this full time? Have been doing it full
Yeah.
time for a long time now?
Yeah, so it's been my main job. Like this has been my main source of income since about 2016. I worked part-time at UPS. I used to work nights at UPS. I stayed there until 2022, mostly for the health insurance was so good, and I was just scared to leave. Like, it's a scary thing to it was always my fallback. I always would say, "Oh, if the geckos fall apart, that doesn't work. I can go from part-time loading trucks inside the warehouse to go get a delivery route and be a UPS driver making 100 grand a year." Like, I had so much seniority, that's all I had to do was ask, and they'd put me on a route. So I'm like, it's just such a good fallback plan. You can't leave. You've got health insurance. You've got a six-figure job just sitting there waiting for you to ask for it. How are you going to give that up? I stayed way too long.
Mm,
It's like
wow.
I can't imagine. I've been gone 2 years now, and I just cannot fathom how even 2 years ago I was doing everything I do. I've got 4,000 geckos, running a whole business, and I was still getting up at 1:30 in the morning, working 6 hours in a UPS warehouse, and then doing a full day of work after that.
That
I
is
slept like 4 hours a night for 16 straight years.
wow.
It was not a good decision. I
Mm,
should have left 5 years earlier than I
wow,
did.
that's amazing, man. I think sometimes people don't realize how much work can really go into what we do if you want to
Yeah.
do it. Like the amount of lack of sleep nights and like long days and yeah, that's so 2016. You it became your main source of income, and that was 2 years after you stopped vending.
Yeah, give or take.
How did that work?
Mostly online sales. I've just gotten so my whole business was built online. I've never really made much money from shows. Like, I make money when I do shows, but it's never been a source of income. For me, shows are a lot more about the visibility and the social aspect. Like, if I can break even or make money, that's great. But the main point for me is getting a giant banner with my name on it out there and getting to actually meet people and put names to faces of everybody's an Instagram profile to me, because
Mm.
that's where most of my business is done. It's where I interact with everybody.
Instagram.
I do a lot. I think Instagram is the most popular place, and it gets frustrating that, like, Instagram's hard too, because at least Facebook you have to use your real name. Instagram, your name's whatever you want it to be. So I'll have people that I'm like, I don't know how old you are. I don't know if you're male or female. I don't know anything about you, but I recognize your logo and your Instagram name. And then when I come do shows, I actually get to meet people and like put a face to the name and actually interact with my customers more than scheduling when do I ship your gecko.
Totally. So you do most of your business through Instagram?
I do a lot. That's where I get the most visibility for sure.
Yeah, I saw
All
your
of
page
the
is doing really well. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
all of the business goes through my website, but all of the interaction, the
gotcha,
content, everything is on Instagram, and it all just funnels people to the website.
gotcha. Okay, that makes
But
sense.
Facebook was big for years, and that's really dropped off. Nobody's on Facebook anymore. Like, I still have a ton of followers, but there's no activity there.
Mm,
Everything's on Instagram.
gotcha. You don't do like the automatic like when you post Instagram, post your Facebook
I
also.
do,
You do, and
yeah,
but still everything comes through
yeah.
Instagram.
It's just like all the messages. Probably 80% of the messages I get are on Instagram versus Facebook. All the engagements way higher on Instagram.
It's interesting the way that all transpired because Facebook bought Instagram, and
Yeah,
then like
like
that,
it's the same parent company, same platform, but for whatever reason, I just get way more engagement on Instagram.
hmm, it's very interesting. Pretty cool. I mean, stoked that you're able to do what you love for. I mean, you get your family involved too, and
Yeah, it's kind of. I always my running joke is I don't think the world is real. It's a simulation, and for some reason, it's just a video game, and I'm being controlled by some 16-year-old Asian kid who thinks it's hilarious. Like, he's some kid built this game, and he's just laughing at this weird life he built for this dude that makes a bunch of money selling lizards on the internet. Like, it just doesn't seem like it should. I walk around my house sometime, and I'll just look around. I got geckos everywhere, and I'm like, how is this legal? It just like, I'm so used, like, everybody has to go to work and get their paycheck from somebody and deal with corporate bureaucracy and this and that, and I'm like, I just have lizards. I don't How is this even legal? I can just make these in my basement and sell them to people? That pays all my bills? Doesn't seem right.
huh? How did you get to that? So I mean, what? Because how did you get to that spot? It's not. What were your steps? What do you think you've done differently than somebody who's maybe been trying to do it and has failed?
I suffered a lot more than most people are willing to.
Mm,
Definitely. There was, like, it sounds great now and it looks all glamorous and stuff, but there was years and years and years that I had no money. Like, I made $19,000 a year working at UPS part time, and that was my only job from 2011 on. And most of the time I was trying to build and run a business on $19,000 a year, but I couldn't work a day job because I wanted to make this my day job. So like there was a few times I would have odds and end day jobs. I worked for a carpet cleaning company for like 3 months, but for the most part, I just figured out how to live on no money and put everything I had into the business and go into massive, massive debt and bet on myself and not sleep because I had to get up at 1 in the morning and go to work. Like there was years of times where it'd be like it's Wednesday afternoon and I'm out of food. I don't get paid till Friday, so I just don't eat till Friday. Like, I just suffered a lot more than most people are willing to suffer. I'm
Wow.
very stubborn.
Yeah, that's awesome that you have that in you. Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's what I was kind of saying earlier. Like, I don't think people necessarily realize, like, if you want to get to where you're at, it's going to be, there's a lot of
Yeah.
sacrifices you're going to have to make, and it's going to be hard.
It is a lot harder than people think. I look at now, I think all the time about I should start another business. I've looked at different businesses. I'd love to open a gym. I would love to open just like a small neighborhood gym. I looked at Anytime Fitness franchises, went down that road for a while. I almost bought a Cold Stone ice cream place one time. I was like, I want to start another business. And then I really thought about it and I was like, no, I already did this once and I know how hard it is. I'm tired. I don't think I could do this a second time.
That's awesome. I love the honesty.
It was hard, but I was like, it sounds like such a great thing in my head, and then I think about the logistics of what is it going to take to suffer through the first 5 years of trying to open my own gym to build a clientele base while I'm still running the business I have. I'm like, I just can't do it. I don't have it in me. I got 2 kids now. I got other things to do. I can't work 90-hour weeks anymore like I could when I was 25.
Mm. So it's not going to be Cold Stone. It's not going to be a gym. But what is the next thing for you? Like where are you? Where do you want to go next? Or where do you see yourself going next?
I have an idea that I'm in the process of building, so I can give you all the details later.
Okay.
But I have a new project. It's still reptile adjacent. It's not breeding and selling reptiles, but I have a new idea that's very closely related to the business. They're going to be kind of linked together, but I think it's a fun idea. It's been kind of going through my head for about 4 years now.
Okay.
I tried to do it a couple years ago, and it just logistically wasn't possible for me then. But I think I've got it figured out now. So I have one coming this summer. I'm hoping to get it launched in July-ish.
That could be perfect because actually this video will probably go out about July.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I'm
it should
hoping.
because I've still got stuff that's rolling out from Tinley that'll be
Yeah.
pushing into June, and then I've got like 8 here, so it should be probably it will be. I think
Okay.
I wish I had my little calendar out, but it should be July when this goes out.
Awesome. Well, hopefully I'll have it running by then.
Yeah. Well, if people want to follow along and see what's happening with that, where's the best place to do that?
A bunch of stuff. It'll all be up on all my social media pages. It's AE Geckos is all my altitude exotics pages, and then there's a whole new website coming, all new social media being built for that. But like I said, they're very linked together, so everything will be interchangeable on both. You'll be able to follow it all on both pages.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, me too. I
It
love
is. It's
you
it's
peaked.
I joke all the time. I have this big ball. It's like a ball of yarn in the back of my head, and each string is a different idea. And every once in a while, I'll pull one out and look at it. And go, no, I can't do that yet. So I stick it back in there. Like this one's been in there for about 4 years.
All right. You definitely piqued my interest. I'm looking
It's gonna
forward
be
to seeing
fun. I'm,
what it
I'm
is.
excited for it. I think it's gonna. I think it could grow into something pretty big.
All right. That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's big time. Well, anything that you want to say for folks before we wrap up here?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of what we touched. I guess kind
Words of
of.
inspiration. I mean,
Yeah, I want to kind of go back to what we started with about like being part of the community. Like having it's just I've learned the hard way, unfortunately, how important connection is. You can't just isolate yourself, and getting out, meeting people, building that kind of social network. There's so much negativity that can happen in the reptile world, and I've seen that scare a lot of people off, and I hate that.
mm,
A lot of it happens online. Like I would really encourage people to get out to a show, meet people in person. People online are mean. I've been mean online. Everybody online is mean. It's easy to be mean online. Face to face, people are nice. Like it's so much better to get out, go to a show, talk to people that love the things you love. Just hang out with everybody, be a part of it. I didn't do that for a long time and I really regret it.
yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah.
Love that.
I had a really sweet interaction. It was a weird interaction with a girl yesterday at the show here. She'd come up to my booth. I had seen her come up like 3 or 4 times and was looking at geckos, and she like kept her eyes down and she had headphones in, which is fairly common these days. Like a lot of people will wear headphones, and that's just a sign like you don't really want to interact with other people, and that's great if that's what gets you out here and you're still feel comfortable because you're not going to be bothered. Awesome, do it. Then she came back at the end of the day, and I noticed her standing kind of at the edge of my table, and she wasn't wearing her headphones anymore. So I was like, all right, well, she clearly took them out. She's been here all day with her headphones in. So I went over to talk to her, and she just picks up a gecko and says, I'd like to buy this one. And she was like real soft spoken and quiet. And I was like, awesome, cool. Talked a little bit. She paid for the gecko. And it was just like I could kind of tell like maybe she wanted to talk but was just not real comfortable. So I was just like, all right, well, what's your name? And she told me, well, they call me Miso. So it's wonderful to meet you, Miso. My name is Brian. And at this point, I'm thinking she's just not very comfortable, not thinking she has any idea who I am. And then she looks at me and she goes, yeah, I know who you are. I had a really bad dream last night that you got mad at me and banned me from ever coming to your expo. And I felt so bad. Like, oh, you're just nervous because you had a bad dream that I was mad at you and threw you out of the expo. I was like, I'm so sorry. That Dream Brian was kind of a dick. I've been told he does that sometimes. I'm so sorry. But it was really kind of sweet.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that, like you said, man, that's what these shows are about. And you
Yeah.
have that personal connection with somebody. It's so important.
Yeah, like I said, I've known too well what it's like not to do that, and it has a very strong effect, even if you don't realize it,
Mm.
and it's hard to break out of.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, step out of your shells, folks. Come on, let's
Come
do
to the
it.
show. We're mostly nice people here.
Yeah, and if we're not, we'll make sure the not nice people aren't allowed to
Yeah,
be not nice.
the
to.
not nice ones don't tend to hang around.
Yeah,
all that
yeah,
long
they
either.
don't make it very long.
I've learned that over the years. People will like start a bunch of crap or do this, and I'll get messages. Aren't you worried about what they're saying? I'm just like, no, I don't worry anymore because I know in 3 years I'll still be here and they won't be.
Mm.
Like it doesn't matter unless you're doing something that's going to affect me 5 years from now. I don't care. I'll still be here in 5 years and you won't be. It's just not worth the energy.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you taking some time away from
Yeah.
the booth. Come sit down with me, bro.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks
Always.
so much.
We'll do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you go follow Brian at his Instagram account if you're not already, or his website. I'll put all the links in the description so you can check out this awesome new company that he's got running, or that is just about to get going, whatever it is. I don't know. He just piqued my interest. He said he was going to talk about it afterwards. I don't know what it is. I'm going to find out with you guys. So make sure you go check that out. Thank you guys for watching, as you have been every week, and we'll see you again right here next week on the Redline Report. Take care. Pop, pop, pop.
My kids aren't causing havoc over here. All right, so maybe a dumb question, but I got 6 microphones. Which one's recording?
They're all recording.
They're all running?
Yeah, they're all running. Ideally, what I'll end up using are these. So these ones you got to be like about that.
About a fist away?
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
I like to run the audio off. This is the best audio that I could get for them. The DJI would come in the next closest, and these are connected to that camera. Very first time I did this, I ran around the Reptile Pomona Super Show, 2015, and I was basically bringing this setup. It wasn't quite as extensive, but it was still a light. There was still a recorder. I still had lav mics, and I had a couple cameras. And I basically took this setup and went to people's booths and set it up at their booth, and then ran that. And I had this little Tascam audio recorder that the lav mics connected to wirelessly, and I'd stand next to him. I go, let's check it real quick, do a little test. I watch the level go. I go, all right, and I put the thing in the bag, and then do the interview. And the whole weekend, there's these little, onboard microphones on that Tascam thing, and it was picking up that when I was checking instead of, it wasn't connected to the lav mics. So I recorded the inside of my bag the entire weekend. But luckily, at least had enough forethought where I did have a shotgun mic on top of the camera, so it wasn't a complete wash. I don't know if you noticed, I reached over and was like, gosh, dang it, record.
I didn't know if it was already recording.
No, we're like 2 minutes of that. I looked over and I was like, no red light. But that's why I've got these.
Yep. Gotta have several different options.
Yep.